In the heart of the African savannah, where the golden grasses whispered secrets to the wind, lay the small village of Basotho. Life here was simple, but for Gitonga and his family, it was a relentless struggle against poverty. Their home, a small worn-out hut made of mud and thatch, stood in contrast to the larger, more prosperous homes of the village elders. Each day was a battle for survival as Gitonga's father, Akoto, toiled under the scorching sun in the fields, while his mother, Adanna, wove beautiful textiles that barely fed enough to feed them. Gitonga, a young man with a heart full of determination, often felt the weight of his family's struggles pressing down on him. He dreamed of rising above the poverty that shackled them, but every day brought new challenges. One morning, as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Gitonga set out with his father to the fields. The earth was dry and cracked, a stark reminder of the long drought that had plagued Basotho. They walked side by side, their holes biting into the unyielding soil. Sweat streamed down Gitonga's face, but he didn't complain. He knew that hard work was the only path to change. In the evenings, after a long day in the fields, Gitonga would visit the village storyteller, Jabilo. Jabilo's stories of ancient heroes and wise elders inspired Gitonga, fueling his determination to write his own story of success. One tale that particularly captivated him was the story of Obi the Brave, a poor farmer who became a respected chief through his wisdom and perseverance. Gitonga, Jabilo would say, his voice filled with wisdom. The road to greatness is paved with hardships, but remember, the only true failure is giving up. Despite his resolve, Gitonga often faced shame and humiliation due to his family's poverty. At the market, he would see the disdain in the eyes of the wealthier villagers. Children from affluent families would mock him, calling him names and laughing at his tattered clothes. Gitonga's heart ached, but he held his head high, refusing to let that cruelty break his spirit. Gitonga's daily life was a relentless struggle. His family's hut, barely holding together, leaked whenever it rained. The floors turned to mud, and the chill seeped into their bones. Gitonga and his siblings slept on mats woven by their mother, their stomachs often rumbling with hunger. The pangs of hunger gnawed at Gitonga. But what hurt more was watching his younger siblings cry from the pain of empty bellies. One day, Gitonga's shame reached a new low. He had gone to the village well to fetch water. As he filled his clay pot, he overheard a group of villagers talking about a festival that was coming up. It was a grand event, and everyone in Basotho was excited. Gitonga couldn't afford to participate, let alone buy new clothes for the occasion. As he walked back home, balancing the heavy pot on his head, a group of boys from wealthier families approached him. They started teasing him, calling him Gitonga the Pauper. One of the boys, with a cruel glint in his eye, pushed Gitonga, causing the pot to tumble to the ground and shatter into pieces. The precious water spilled into the dry earth, a stark reminder of Gitonga's helplessness. Gitonga knelt on the ground, picking up the shards with trembling hands, his heart pounding in his chest, a mix of anger, shame, and sadness threatening to overwhelm him. The boys laughed and walked away, leaving Gitonga alone with his shattered pot and broken spirit. That evening, Gitonga returned home empty-handed. His mother saw the anguish on his face and gently asked what had happened. Gitonga, unable to hold back his tears, recounted the day's events. Adana hugged her son tightly, her own heart breaking for the pain he endured. "Gitonga, my son," she whispered, "do not let their words and actions define you. You are more than what they see. One day, you will rise above this, and they will see the strength and courage within you." Gitonga nodded, wiping his tears, but the sting of humiliation lingered. He knew he had to find a way to change his family's fate, no matter how difficult the journey. Gitonga's shame did not end with the incident at the well. The festival arrived, and as he walked through the bustling village square, he saw the children of wealthy families dressed in bright new clothes, laughing and dancing. Gitonga's own clothes were worn and packed, a stark contrast to the colorful garments around him. The festival, which was supposed to be a time of joy and celebration, became a source of deep pain for Gitonga. He felt like an outsider in his own village, his poverty marking him as different and less deserving. As the festivities continued, Gitonga's heart grew heavier. He watched as the wealthier villagers enjoyed abundant food and drink, while he and his family had to make do with meager portions. The disparity was glaring, and Gitonga felt the weight of it pressing down on him. He wanted to be part of the celebration and sharing the joy, but his circumstances made him feel invisible and unworthy. One evening, as the festival reached its peak, Gitonga decided to take a walk to clear his mind. He wandered away from the lively square, seeking solace in the quiet of the fields. As he walked, he came across a small secluded grove where he often went to think. Sitting down on a large rock, he let the tears he had been holding back flow freely. The frustration and helplessness he felt were overwhelming, and he needed to release the pent-up emotions. "Gitonga!" A soft voice called from behind him. He turned to see Abiba, his childhood friend, standing there with a look of concern. Abiba was a spirited young woman with a kind heart, and she had always believed in Gitonga's potential. "Abiba," Gitonga said, trying to compose himself, "what are you doing here?" "I saw you leave the festival," she replied, sitting down beside him. "I was worried about you. You've seemed so distant lately." Gitonga sighed, wiping his eyes. "It's just everything. The festival, the teasing, the constant struggle. Sometimes it feels like I'm never going to escape this cycle of poverty." Abiba placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Gitonga, you are one of the strongest people I know. You have a heart full of determination, and I believe in you. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are." Her words brought a sense of comfort to Gitonga. He looked at Abiba, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you, Abiba. Your belief in me means more than you know." Abiba smiled warmly. "And I always will. You're going to achieve great things. Gitonga, I know it." With renewed determination, Gitonga resolved to work even harder to change his family's circumstances. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he also knew that he had the strength and support to persevere. As Gitonga grew older, he became more aware of the stark inequalities in Basotho. The village was divided between the wealthy and the poor, and the gap seemed to widen with each passing year. While Gitonga toiled in the fields, he saw others who lived lives of leisure and abundance. This disparity weighed heavily on his mind. One day, while at the market, Gitonga encountered a man named Odongo. Odongo was known for his wealth, but also for his dubious means of acquiring it. He was a smooth talker, always dressed in fine clothes and surrounded by admirers. Odongo had noticed Gitonga's hard-working nature and saw an opportunity. "Gitonga," Odongo called out, his voice as smooth as silk. "Why do you work so hard for so little? There are quicker ways to wealth, my friend." Gitonga was intrigued but wary. "What do you mean, Odongo?" Odongo smiled, revealing a row of perfect white teeth. "Come with me. I'll show you how to make more money in a day than you do in a month." Despite his better judgment, Gitonga followed Odongo. They walked to a secluded part of the village where Odongo revealed his scheme: illegal trading and smuggling. The profits were enormous, but the risks were high. Gitonga's mind raced. This money could lift his family out of poverty, but the consequences could be dire. That night, Gitonga lay awake, torn between temptation and integrity. He thought of his family, the values his parents had instilled in him, and Jabilo's stories of honor and resilience. As dawn broke, Gitonga made his decision. He would not sacrifice his principles for quick riches. He would find a way to succeed through hard work and honesty. Gitonga's resolve was strengthened by the unwavering support of his family and friends. His mother, Adanna, was his greatest source of encouragement. She would say, "Gitonga, remember that true wealth is not measured by money, but by the love and respect of those around you." One evening, as they sat around the fire, Adanna shared a story of her own struggles and triumphs. "When I was young, we were even poorer than we are now," she began. "But I learned that resilience and hard work can overcome any obstacle. I see that same strength in you, Gitonga." Her words resonated deeply with Gitonga. He realized that his journey was not just about lifting himself out of poverty, but also about honoring the sacrifices and teachings of his parents. Abiba, too, was a constant source of inspiration. She had dreams of her own, aspiring to become a teacher and bring education to the children of Basotho. Together, they encouraged each other, sharing their hopes and fears. Abiba's belief in Gitonga's potential was unwavering, and her optimism was infectious. As Gitonga continued to work tirelessly, he began to notice small changes. The crops in their fields started to flourish thanks to new techniques he had learned from observing successful farmers. His mother's textiles gained more attention at the market, bringing him a bit more income. These small victories fueled Gitonga's determination. The turning point in Gitonga's life came when a traveling merchant named Obi visited Basotho. Obi had heard of Adanna's beautiful textiles and wanted to see them for himself. Impressed by the craftsmanship, he offered to take some of the textiles to the city and sell them at a higher price. Adanna was hesitant at first, but Gitonga saw this as an opportunity. "Mother, this could be our chance to reach a larger market," he urged. "We have to take this risk." With some persuasion, Adanna agreed, and Obi took the textiles to the city. Weeks passed, and the family waited anxiously. Finally, Obi returned with news that exceeded their wildest dreams. The textiles had sold for a significant amount, bringing in enough money to invest in better tools and supplies. Gitonga used the money wisely, purchasing seeds for high-yield crops and materials for his mother to create more textiles. Their hard work began to pay off, and their standard of living gradually improved. The villagers who had once looked down on Gitonga began to see him in a new light. His perseverance and integrity earned him respect and admiration. To be continued in part 2. Thank you for listening.